like it. Now, Caitlin is probably a pretty fast swimming fish. Is that something that stingrays would keep up with out in the wild?
No, actually, most of what they feed is not going to be part of their natural diet. You'll notice their mouths are on the other side of their body. That would indicate that they're a bottom-feeding animal, so they're going to eat things that live along the bottom. Things like clams, oysters, crabs. Basically, any slower-moving organism that they can catch.
Very cool. So typically stingrays aren't digging up hard-shelled organisms or invertebrates from underneath the sand. They do tend to spend a lot of their time hunting for their food down on the ocean floor. Now we do make sure that all of the food that we feed them is nutritionally equivalent. So we are making sure these animals get all the nutrients they need out of their diet, despite the food items not being the exact same thing that they would hunt by themselves. Now I've got some pretty big stingrays in there, Ryan. Are you afraid at all of being in there with those animals?
Not at all. Stingrays by nature are very docile. They only use that barb as the very last line of defense. These ones in particular are very used to us. We're here every single day. At 1:30 and 4:30 to hand feed them, so they are very used to us and pretty much look at us like they're real ticket.
Very cool. So it is perfectly safe in there. And that barb or the stinger that stingrays are known for is something those animals only use as a last resort self-defense mechanism. So that is something they will use after they've tried to run away, after they've tried everything else they can possibly do to get away from anything they feel is a threat to them. Typically that barb will break off if they use it, which leaves them defenseless. So they don't want to use that unless it's absolutely necessary. So again, it is perfectly safe in there, even with that big 120-pound southern stingray that Ryan's swimming in there with. Now, if you have just joined us, this is our staff curator, Ryan. He's currently feeding our stingrays, the cow-nose rays, and that large southern. If you do have questions for Ryan throughout the show, feel free to raise your hands and I will come find you. Or you can find me behind most of you in the blue shirt with the microphone. Again, I'm behind most of you guys right up the center here, and I'm happy to relay your questions into him inside the tank.
Question?
Alright, so no questions just yet, but it looks like we've got a lot of animals here at the Silverton. How many fish do we have exactly?
So we have over 100 different types of fish. Almost 2,000 total number. One very unique thing about this aquarium is you're not region specific. We have fish from all over the world. So a lot of these animals would never actually encounter each other in the wild.
Wow, so 2,000 animals, just over 100 species in total, including those stingrays, our sharks, and our bony fish. Now, since I brought up the sharks, Ryan, how many types of sharks do we have here at the Silverton?
Yeah, we have a few species of sharks. Right below me, you'll see two different species. The white one is called a white-spotted bamboo shark, and then the brown one is called a brown-banded bamboo shark. Now, the three white ones you see below me are white-spotted bamboo shark, but they are albino. They lack the normal colorations that you would see on white-spotted bamboo. This one back here is a normal coloration that it looks like on a white-spotted bamboo. A leopard shark, which is going to be our largest species, which is actually right down there. And then we also have a coral cat shark, which is pretty small and doesn't come out too much.
Awesome. So 4 different species of sharks. Definitely spend some time and see if you can find all 4 of them. The smallest one is probably only about a foot long, but our largest shark, that Japanese leopard, is about 4 feet in length. So definitely a pretty sizable shark. Nothing compared to the great white or any of those larger species, but some pretty good sized sharks nonetheless in here. Now speaking of those sharks, Ryan will actually be back down to feed some of them just after he's done feeding the stingray. So if you are interested in watching the sharks eat as well, he'll be back down once he's finished with these animals. Now it looks like there's some beautiful coral behind you there, Ryan. Do we have real live corals here at the Silverton?
All the coral in the tank is artificial. It's designed and replicated after real coral, but coral is a very delicate animal. And so this isn't the proper setup for live coral. We have a lot of animals that would play it. And it's just not a conducive environment to keep live coral.
Very cool. So it is all artificial coral. Now our fish do still utilize that just like they would a live coral reef out in the wild. They're using that as a home. A lot of our smaller fish do tend to hide out in that coral. But because we also keep species in here that could potentially eat corals, we don't want to have anything live here in our tank, as they would definitely do a good number on that and eat it up pretty readily. How you doing on food in there, Ryan?
Just got one small handful left, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to give it away.
All right, one small handful. So one more question. We do have a very popular type of fish here, the puffer fish. And we've got a few different species. Maybe you can point a couple of them out for us.
Well, this is one of our popular residents. This is our large turkey-type puffer. We also have several smaller species of puffer. Let's see if I can find any. We do have another smaller species of porcupine puffer. We have a guinea fowl puffer, a dog-faced puffer. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing any right now, but yeah, the porcupine over there, he's by far our biggest.
Absolutely. Our biggest and definitely one of our more guest-engaging animals. Now, puffers do tend to pay attention to what's going on around them. So you'll actually probably see him come around the tank and take a look outside at what's going on. They tend to be very social, and they do like to check everything out while they're exploring the tank here. Now, it looks like Ryan is just trying to give away that last handful, so he's pretty much out of food. Let's give him a big wave and thank him for coming down today. All right, now if you had any other last-minute questions, my name is Kayla. I am hanging out here behind most of you guys still with that microphone. I've got the blue shirt on. I'm happy to answer those for you guys if you did not hear something throughout the show. Otherwise, Ryan will be back down in just a few moments. He's going to do our bottle, which has lots of mysis, woodworms, other small foods for our little fish in the reef. And then he'll be back down to feed the sharks just after that. So hang out if you want to see all the rest of our animals getting their lunch for the day. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us and have a fantastic time here at the Silverton.